I guess just to jump on that, so Sixers do hold the number 1 seed right now. Go ahead.
Why? Dress up.
We'll dress it up. Don't worry. We're assuming that they had the opportunity to trade for Harden, right? But they are sitting with the number 1 seed without him. So I guess I'll pose a two-parted question. First, do you think they made a mistake not trading for Harden? And lastly, do you think that Harden will ultimately be their downfall, given the fact that that's probably who they would have to face in the Eastern Conference Finals, assuming that they get there? I'll pose this to you, Armand.
I think the fact that he went to Brooklyn definitely obviously can make it their downfall, opposed to if he would have went to any other team really in the East. I think that Ben Simmons is vitally important to the Sixers. And if that was what it was going to take to get Harden, then Harden would have been an upgrade, but enough to overcome the importance that Simmons has to their team. I don't think that it would have put them over the hill necessarily. It probably gets them out of the East. I still think the Lakers probably would have beaten them in the finals. If you're a Sixers fan, though, getting out of the East, that's a massive win. And I'm not saying that sarcastically or to be an asshole, but I think that that's a huge step in the right direction. So I know I kind of just backpedaled, but I still would have done that if I was Daryl Morey. But it's too late now. Now you gotta buckle up and dive into your identity as a defensive team and own that. So
for me, I think it's clear when we look at who James Harden went to, right? We're looking at Philly as the only natural competitor for the Nets at the moment, and that's because they added James Harden. That matchup to me looks a lot better if it's James Harden and Embiid versus Kyrie and KD, as opposed to Kyrie, KD, and now James Harden versus Embiid and Ben Simmons. So for that reason and that reason alone, I think it looks bad. It looks like the L. I think it would have been an upgrade. I'm a huge Ben Simmons fan. I think what he does is kind of understated around the league. But I also know that when I look to Philly, I feel like they're going to struggle late game. And they need a guy to create shots who can get his own shot. And I think James Harden would have been that answer for them. And now you have 3 of those guys on the Nets.
I'm going to snitch. I'm going to tell Tobias Harris, his agent, his father, that you can see come out saying that all of this 2-star, Sixers only have 2 stars is bullshit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm snitching. You mans keep overlooking my guy Tobias Harris in a career year. This is crazy. But anyways, the question, did they make a mistake? They definitely did not make a mistake. And here's why. Because James Harden, the uncertainty that him coming to Philly would bring wasn't worth giving up a guy like Ben Simmons. We don't know what type of player we would have gotten back. Were we going to get Houston James Harden, or were we going to get Brooklyn James Harden? We don't know that. And what we do know is he has a certain level of respect for Kyrie and KD that allows him to change the way he's playing. That's allowing him to say, I'm going to let you guys rock. I'm going to be the point guard. I'm going to distribute and fit in where I fit in. I don't know if that's that type of mentality that he was going to bring to my team. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he would have been open to, spreading the ball around and deferring in certain respects throughout the game. I just don't know that. And what I do know about Ben Simmons is, at the end of the day, he's probably one of the best 5 defenders at any position in the league. He's also an all-star. And when he has his mind to it, we've seen it. He can go out and he can go get you buckets. He doesn't have to be a 30, 40 point scorer a night. He just has to get you enough buckets to where the defense has to respect what he does. So because of that, we have a superstar in Ben Simmons. There's no reason why he's a superstar. I'm saying he's a superstar because of his two-way play. So we already have that player. There's no reason for us to now trade that player and not know exactly what we're getting back in James Harden. So, they didn't make a mistake.
So let me just clarify. So what you're saying is his 2 weeks of mailing it in Houston had you doubting who James Harden was, despite what he's done in Houston for almost over half a decade?
I'm not talking about when he put the fat suit on. I'm talking about from the very beginning. We said when it comes to James Harden, what are you getting? Are you getting dribble, shoot? Or are you going to get this James Harden?
But I don't think the construction of your team, right? If you trade for James Harden, you wouldn't want this Nets James Harden. You'd more so want the one that can get you 30 a night.
But no. But the one that can get me 30 a night off of what he was doing never showed up when it mattered. So why would I want that guy?
He never had Joel Embiid.
So what? He had other players.
Yeah,
He
fair,
had
but I
Chris
think
Paul.
it's just...
He had Dwight Howard. He had Russell Westbrook. He had other Hall of Fame players. These guys are going to the Hall of Fame.
But hold on. My question to you, Chris, is not both versions of James Harden better than Ben Simmons currently? Whether it's Pitt, what?
No.
So James Harden,
No. I don't believe. Yo, listen, we're not
MVP?
talking. We're not talking about James Harden. The talent, and that's it. You have to talk about how James Harden is fitting on my team.
Obviously.
So when you're saying you don't think that James Harden any version is better than Ben Simmons, that question means nothing to me, because what version of James Harden is going to make the Sixers better? Dribble James Harden. I want Ben Simmons. This James Harden, I would be more malleable to it, but I didn't know I was going to get that, and nobody knew how James Harden was going to fit in. So I'm gonna just keep Ben.
James Harden would not defer to Seth Curry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
you're not
he's going to be
getting
dribble. All right, so he's going to be dribble.
To me, I
and then
think
what
that's
am I
what I'm
doing
saying.
with that?
Armand, I'm going to let you chime in after I finish, but I think that either version of James Harden is better than Ben Simmons. And I like Ben Simmons a lot.
I think that, I agree with everybody here. I think that there's bits and pieces so you look at fit, right? And I do believe that if he was on the Sixers, it would be dribble. And that hasn't worked ever for him in the playoffs. So I agree with that. I also look at it like James Harden really has had success with big men that roll to the rim and catch lobs. How is he going to do playing with Joel Embiid, who kind of needs to isolate and dominate in the post? And then Harden's going to be kind of spotting up. That's also kind of a question mark. But at the end of the day, it's about your philosophy. Do you believe talent overrides all that, or do you believe fit is the most important thing? And I think that that's like the biggest question. And with basketball fans, you always debate over talent or fit. I'm a fit guy. So I think that the fit would have been messy, and that's why I kind of have issues. But guess what? The Lakers fit is kind of messy too. They won the title, right? Like, their offense isn't the most poetic, beautiful offense in the world, but they still won the title because of talent. So it goes both ways. At the end of the day, though, what I want to know is how now what? Now what are the Sixers missing? What kind of player or archetype of player would they trade for at the deadline to get over the hump?
see, to answer your question, I don't think there's a player that they can trade for that's going to improve their circumstances moving forward. Because I think what they need right now is they need a late game shot maker. We just seen it last night with Embiid go out there and couldn't close it. And that's no fault on him because he's a big man. It's just the nature of the game. That's not how the NBA is played currently. They're not. A big man isn't supposed to be in that role, or is not. The game's not set up in a way for a big man to thrive in that role. For the first 3 quarters, top of the fourth, Embiid could be the most dominant player. But when it boils down to it, you're going to need a shot maker. Ben's not that guy, obviously. Tobias damn sure isn't that guy. But I don't know who's...
But he's hit game winners before.
Okay, when nothing's on the line, though.
Yeah.
Tobias is... Yeah,
So is Jeremy
come
Lamb.
on, man.
My
I'm talking
God.
about real deal
Oh,
game
my God.
makers or game shot makers that are going to actually be able to...
So you're talking about like 4 mans in the entire
Bro.
league. You're talking about the top
Not
end
necess-
superstars then.
Yes, and that's why those are the only people winning championships.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's a player that they can
No, it's
trade
not.
for at the deadline that's going to improve their circumstances.
People wouldn't put LeBron as a top end late game
I
shot
definitely
maker.
would. I definitely would.
The consensus wouldn't be, but
I guess what I'm
Go
just trying to
ahead.
say is I don't know if
The numbers
there's
speak for
one
themselves.
individual player that they can trade for given their circumstances that's going to come in and all of a sudden put them over the hump. The roster is what it is, and I think they know that themselves. This is a roster we're moving forward with, and yeah, they've gelled a lot better under Doc Rivers than they have under Brett Brown, so I'll give him credit as well. But I don't know if there's a piece just that you could throw in there and say, yeah, this is the key to all our problems. To be honest, I don't know how you guys feel.
well, Armand, I was listening to your podcast. Brainstorming basketball, by the way. You didn't
I
even
did
plug it in the
the
beginning, but I got you. Nah. Imagine didn't say the actual name. But
You definitely
regardless.
did.
Well, I didn't hear it. Anyways, Kyle Lowry, right? The reports came out again. Like, I heard it in your podcast, and the reports came out again like 2 days ago saying that Kyle Lowry specifically is saying that if he is going to get traded, he wants to go to Philly. He wants to go home. And to me, I feel like that's a match made in heaven. Like, I feel like that's exactly what the Philly needs. You know what I'm saying? He fits the identity, tough nose, gritty, like super gritty player. He'll take charges, put his body on the line, get on the floor. It doesn't matter. Like, he's going to go out there and do that. And because he knows he's going home with another chance at another ring, I feel like that's beautiful. He allows, take some of the pressure off of Ben Simmons to where when he can't do some of the pick and roll stuff because he doesn't have a jumper, Kyle Lowry can do that. You know what I'm saying? Kyle Lowry can also step outside and hit shots. To me, it's beautiful. Whether or not they can get it because of that $30 million contract that he has is another discussion. But if we're just going to say they can get it done, what do you think about that fit?
I think I agree completely. It's match made in heaven. The intangibles, like you mentioned, more than anything, fit. I think Lowry can go on any team and fit. Like, he's one of those guys that he doesn't care about shot attempts. He doesn't care about anything. He's willing to put his body on the line, which in turn inspires other guys to put their bodies on the line and to buy into a winning type of culture. And and then, like you said, taking playmaking responsibilities off of Ben, off of Joel a little bit. It's a match made in heaven. And I really think that Lowry is a match made in heaven for almost any contender. I'm a huge fan of his, but especially Philly, and being from Philly and competing for a championship, which, by the way, I understand Toronto needs like maybe one big piece, but I still kind of am in on Toronto too, which is why I'm kind of disappointed that if they were to trade him, I still want to see them compete. But yes, match made in heaven. I agree.
You're higher in Toronto than us, man. That's
I think we'd be. I don't think we're contending obviously anymore, but I think we can still compete even without Lowry. I think I was looking up. We're 16-1 without Lowry in the past year and a half, and this year we're 7-1 without him. So we obviously know how good Lowry is. So that those stats don't necessarily make sense, but they're stats, right? We've won games without him. So I think we can still compete. I think we can still be a playoff team. But as a Raptor fan, I want to see Lowry go compete personally. And I think, as both of you had already mentioned, like, there's no better fit for him. And he can fit anywhere. He can shoot. He obviously defends. He can defend a lot bigger than his actual size. And he plays hard. And I think if you swap him for a guy like Danny Green, obviously in terms of starting lineup, I think you get way better because Danny Green is garbage. Can't dribble, can't pass. He can shoot, and he can defend every other night. So I think when you add a guy like Lowry to that mix and he can defend, maybe he can even defend a small forward. You won't need to, but I'm saying push comes to shove, he can defend those guys. You have Ben Simmons, who's a 6'10" point guard. When your point guard's 6'10", you can essentially plug a lot of guys who are undersized into your lineup, and it's going to work. So I think it's match made up. I think it makes them way better. Does it make them better than Brooklyn? I don't think so, but then I'd be willing to look at them as a real competitor.
For me, the only thing is, like, how do we get it done? And I seen put it in the trade machine, like, you would need Danny Green coming back, and then you'd basically mean like Thibault, Maxey.
You don't want that guy.
You know what I'm saying? Or you would have to do like a 3-team trade where somebody gets a first-round pick and then you throw in the matching salary, whatever the case is. But that's one of those things where I'm saying, as a Philly fan and as a Raptor fan, because as you mentioned, I want to see Lowry go out and, do him. Like, go win, fam. Win again. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it would be like buttering both sides of my bread, fam. Like, I'm seeing my guy go out and win, and I'm gonna see my team get it done. So I really hope that gets completed. For
crazy.
Can you imagine? This guy is Armand. He's a fan of 2 teams in the Atlantic Division. Imagine that.
That's the nature of being from Toronto and being a Philly fan. Shout out to Allen Iverson. That had nothing to do with me. Like, Allen pumped the culture into me.